Alright, welcome to another video from Agricultural Insights. My name is Chris Stelzer, and today you guys are going to be looking at a spreadsheet, and I'm doing some calculations for custom grazing. What a land lease would look like, how much income you can earn from custom grazing, and a lot of the expenses that go along with leasing land. And keep in mind, this is a rough calculation. Depending on your situation and the land you have, you might need to spend significantly more, or you might need to spend significantly less. So let's get started here. I guess the first thing you can see is the expenditure by category, which is represented by this pie chart. And then I have categories right here to the right. How much is your lease payment, fencing, gasoline, a corral or handling facility, transportation, and then water expenses. So let's start over here on the right hand side. I'll draw your attention over here. This is what I'm talking about over here, right here on the right hand side. So we're leasing 1,000 acres at $15 an acre, and that is $15,000. Okay, so we can run one animal unit for every 2 acres for 8 months out of the year. So that equals 500 animal units that we can run on that 1,000 acres. We can get $22 a head per month for custom grazing for a cattle owner. Okay, so that's $11,000 of income a month right here. Okay, that's how much we're going to get per month. Fencing. Let's say we had to fence the entire perimeter of the 1,000 acres, which in most situations you won't need to do. That's 208,000 feet for perimeter fencing, and then you multiply that by 10 cents a foot, and that is equal to $20,800. Okay. And this is just a rough estimate, again, depending on your situation, but I was calculating for high tensile perimeter fencing. The muffins are done. My wife's making muffins right now. So, all right, and then another expense are the reels, and that's 5 reels at $49 plus 5 rolls of poly braid. Also known as poly wire, but this is braid. There's a huge difference. Go see my video on it. Okay, 5 of those at $49. Both of those combined is $490. And then you'll need 150 step-in posts at $137.50 for 50 of those, for a grand total of $412.50. Okay, so those are some of my math calculations. Now let's come look over here at the spreadsheet. The yearly lease payment we already talked about. It's $15,000. Fencing is $20,800. Gas for your truck and the 4-wheeler is gas for a year, 20 gallons a month at $4 a gallon times 12 months is equal to $960. You could round that off to 1,000 or 1,100 or something to be safe. Fencing, we talked about the reels, we talked about the step-in posts. You're gonna need an energizer to power your high tensile electric fence, and I recommend the 36 joule energizer. They make a 63 now, which is about, I don't know, double as expensive as this, but the 36 joule will set you back $1,250. Okay, then you'll need a spinning jenny to build your fence, and that is $200. And then I also put in here a brand new Honda 4-wheeler. Of course, you don't need to buy brand new, but it would be helpful. I don't want to tell you how to spend your money, but when you're dealing with something like a 4-wheeler that you're so dependent upon, for putting in paddocks and moving the mineral feeder and going around the property, $8,000 is a small price to pay. But you can buy used, and I would highly recommend you find a Honda. And then a corral / handling facility I put for $5,000. The really nice ones are around 10 to 12,000. You can build your own for probably 1,000 or 2,000, or maybe even cheaper. I just put this number in here to get an average figure. Water tanks and water lines. Maybe you don't need any of this. Maybe there's ponds on the property. Maybe there's a river or creek running through the property, and you can water out of that. So you could just take that out of the equation if that is the case for you. But I just put that in here in case you need to put some tanks or water lines in. And then I also put in a Toyota truck. I think up until like 94, 95 are the ones I'd recommend. So any of the ones between the late 80s to the 94, 95, I'd recommend. Alright, so those are the expenses. And I've added up all these expenses right here in this category. But I did not put the lease payment in because that's a yearly expense. And all those expenses are equal to $48,612.50. Okay? So, now it gets a little interesting. Here's your monthly income from cattle. So, the cattle owner is going to pay you $11,000 per month for 8 months. Because that's what we talked about up here. Remember? So, right there. We can get 22 head per month for a grand total of $11,000. So, the first month, we're $47,000 in the hole. The second month, $36,000 in the hole. Third month, $25,000, $14,000. Okay, so it just keeps going on and on and on. But as you can see, at the end of the year, we're going to make a profit of $29,000. $387.50. So that's the profit, okay? Which is great, which is pretty good considering all the stuff that you spent money on that you didn't necessarily need to. One thing I do want to point out that I have not mentioned is that for a beginning balance, you need some money up front. I put $5,000. So that's just $5,000 cash that you'll be using for gas, that you could buy the fencing reels with. So gas, fencing reels, you could buy your step-in posts and your energizer and your spinning jenny, and then maybe you need to get a loan for this and a loan for your cattle handling facility, your water and your truck. Those are all separate, but I just wanted to point out that this expense is here, that $5,000. Okay, just wanted to mention that not an expense. I'm sorry, the $5,000 is what you're starting off with. So let's see, $48,612.50 are your expenses. So let me bring up my calculator here. I hope this shows up. Anyway, let me bring up the calculator. So next year, when you enter your second year of grazing, let's say theoretically, we're going to take our $29,387.50 of profit that we made last year. Okay, plus we're going to add the $48,612.50 for a grand total of. Now we have the potential next year to make a profit of $78,000 because we're not going to have all of these expenses right here. Those aren't going to be. That won't be an issue. Sure, there'll be some miscellaneous things. You're going to have to do fence repair. Maybe you have to do some water repair. Maybe after you get some more cash flow going, you might put in a better handling facility. But all those things are what they are, and I don't think you need to necessarily do those things. So just let me write year. It's hard to write with the mouse. Year 2 profit can be $78K. All right. So this is a rough idea of some calculations if you want to get started custom grazing. So again, your profit for the first year would be down here, 29,000, and then your second year you have the potential to make a profit of 78,000. All right. So that was just a rough estimate. There's some things you guys might want to think about in here. So I hope you enjoyed this video from Agricultural Insights, and please remember to visit our website at www.agriculturalinsights.com. And also, please, when you go there, remember you can subscribe. So right when you go to the home page, on the right-hand side, there's a box for your email address and your first name. You put your email in, your first name, and then you hit subscribe, and you will be notified over email anytime that I make an update. Okay? And got some good things planned in the future for you, so you guys should subscribe. Thanks for your time.